Hi everyone, my name is Susan Bankson. I am a violist and violinist, a performer and a teacher in the Chicago area. Today I'm going to give you an introduction to vibrato. So vibrato is one of those things that everybody wants to do right away when they start playing violin because it makes the sound, well, frankly better, more like the human voice and more natural sounding. But it is an advanced technique. And the reason why you don't start learning vibrato right away is because the most important thing to learn first is a good hand frame, so a good setup with your left hand, and intonation. So a lot of people think that vibrato is just shaking or moving the sound, but you have to do it in a certain way, and you have to do it in a way that enhances the sound and makes the notes come through. So in other words, if you're playing without vibrato, just a simple sort of a minor scale. With vibrato, you want those pitches to come through. So still sounds like the same notes. Anyway, so that's the basic concept of vibrato, the background on it, and how you teach it. There have been a lot of different styles of vibrato through time, so it's one of those things that people like certain ways and like 50 years ago, and then now we think that doesn't sound very good. It's kind of fun. You can listen to old recordings of some of the early virtuosos around the time when they started doing recordings and just hear how different it is and whether you like it or not, that style of playing. Anyway, so obviously this is a viola, and you might say, well, why? I'm a violinist, why should I watch this video, or why is this relevant? Actually, the beginning concepts are basically the same on violin and viola. Later, when you get more advanced, violists are known to have like a wider vibrato just because of the lower register, more of a warm sound. But ideally, violinists and violists, you both want this big range of vibrato, and the initial process of learning it is the same. So I'm going to start off with an exercise that's not going to really seem like vibrato, but it's a really good exercise to practice flexibility of your knuckles, which is really important. So sometimes we don't think about this if you're not a violin player, but when I refer to a bass knuckle, we're talking about these guys down here, and you have the first and second knuckle. And basically you need to develop flexibility and strength in these to do vibrato. So this is an exercise. If you're watching, you can do with me or just observe and do later on your own. Okay, so this is, I just call this the sliding like knuckle exercise. Doesn't have a fancy name. So basically what you're going to do is pick a note. So for my purposes, this is a viola, so I'm on first finger D string, so an E. And it doesn't matter too much actually how high you slide up, basically that you're just covering a big part of the fingerboard. And if you'll notice, my thumb, when you're sliding up, it will follow you until here, and then kind of trail along, and then you rejoin at this point and go back down. So this is something you might have done already, but I'm just going to go on for now for the purpose of this video. Okay, so the idea is, when you're doing this, is when you're going up, so towards your face, you're going to keep the knuckle square, like this, and flatten it out as you go up. So it's kind of this motion. So it's square, flattening out, and then flattening out and becoming square again. So at the top, it's extended, at the bottom, it's square, and you're just getting used to bending these knuckles, and you're not pressing hard into the string. So you can actually do it with your bow, and it's going to sound horrible because I'm not pressing hard enough to get an actual pitch. I'm just hovering above the string, so sorry, this is going to sound bad. So you get the idea. You can do this on every finger, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is the hardest finger notoriously to vibrate, so make sure you do that as well, and on all strings. Okay, so that's a beginning exercise, and I would encourage you, for learning vibrato, obviously, to do it with a teacher because everybody's hand is different. Everybody has different things that are hard. So for some people that might be really easy, but another step will be hard. So that's why it's really important to work with someone one-on-one to develop this, because it's such an important technique and part of your playing, and because it's actually really hard to unlearn vibrato. I've had or known a lot of people that have had to, when they changed teachers or when they got a new teacher, they had to stop using vibrato for months and then relearn it a different way, a better way. So it's just something to be aware of. All right, so next we're gonna go to sort of the core, I think one of the core exercises of vibrato, and for this you need a metronome. So I'm just gonna put a metronome onto 60. So this is just a nice slow tempo. Okay, and the idea is we're gonna take a pitch, we're gonna bend the knuckle and go below the pitch and go above the pitch. So we're always returning to the same pitch, we're going to the same point below. For now, let's do a half step, and then returning to the same pitch. So it's basically very simple if I just show you. Okay, so let's do, I'm gonna do a 3-finger G on the D string. So there's a G. You're just gonna use nice steady bows so you can focus on your left hand. So here it is. The nice thing about doing it, I'm gonna try to stop for a second. The nice thing about doing it with the 3rd finger on one of these top 3 strings is you can also use the open string for a reference, which is kind of a trick. So I'm playing both of these, and then I can make sure I go back to the right G. So that's what it sounds like if I use that trick. Okay, and let's just talk about the mechanics of what's happening there. Basically, you have the square knuckle, just like we worked on here, and then you're dropping, I would say, these bass knuckles, and then you're having them go up again. Yeah. So pretty much when you vibrate, it's a sort of a group effort from all your fingers in your hand. And if you'll notice the angle of my wrist, so here it's a straight line with my elbow. Here, this is how you're not supposed to hold the viola or violin ever, but for vibrato, you actually do oscillate back and forth between these 2 positions. And these fingers, it's not a good idea if they're sort of flayed out randomly, just because they get in the way, they're not going to be ready for the next note, and it also usually, if you have a stiff finger like this, usually it's the pinky that's like curled or sticking up, that implies that there's tension there, and that's another key aspect of vibrato. Is it's very controlled, and so you want to control where you have tension and where you don't have tension, basically. Okay, so you're going to do that. So what I was doing is, so 1 click for the note, below the note, and above the note. And basically you're just going to do this mathematically and increase how many times per click. So if I'm on 60, I'll do a couple for you at each speed. Obviously you're going to do more than just a few to practice. So if I was here, and I'm going to go to 8th note, so it'd be and triplets, and then 4, and then you keep going faster. I think it's easier after you do 4 to increase the metronome. Sorry, it's right. To increase the speed on the metronome by maybe 10 clicks rather than trying to do like 6 per click or 8 per click, because it's just harder to evenly make them even and subdivide. So I would say do that where you do 2, 3, 4, starting at 60, and then increase it. And obviously this is something that's going to be really awkward at first, so just be aware that it's a long-term process. So I think especially adults like myself, even if I'm learning another instrument, I find myself really impatient. It's like, oh, I should be able to do this, you know, really quickly. But it's one of those things that's going to take time. So never be hard on yourself. Like if you do this every day and you only increase maybe 4 metronome clicks or 10 metronome clicks, that's a lot. And if you calculate that over 2 days or 14 weeks or the next 6 months, that's when you really see progress. And you don't want to rush it, like I said, because rushing it normally means you sort of do something wrong just to get by and get to the next step. So it takes patience. Okay, so those are I would say the beginning exercises to start working on a vibrato. Something that is sometimes not talked about until you're more advanced that I can just tell you right now are the components of vibrato that eventually, once you're at a certain level, that's what you'll be working on to make your vibrato really enhance the music, really be something that's artistic choice, something that you use to get a message across. Okay, so there's different components of vibrato, and they are, let's talk about them. So the first one is the width, and by width we're talking about how much that pitch is changing. So what we did just now in that exercise was a half step, which is actually pretty wide vibrato. Okay, so if I was doing a wide vibrato, that's pretty wide. And obviously you can have a narrow vibrato. So this would be a narrow vibrato, right? It's maybe a quarter of a step, something like that. It's kind of light. So you can have that, which is the width, and you can also have the speed. Okay, so the speed, obviously the metronome was determining our speed, but you can have, for example, a slow narrow or a slow wide or a fast narrow or a fast wide. So this would be a fast wide, which is really intense, and you can have a slow wide, which is what violists are notorious for. Yeah, and that can sound kind of funny as well. So generally you're not at those extremes, but you practice the extremes so that you can have variation in between your width and your speed. In the end, just to conclude, I'm going to play just like a few bars of a pretty standard viola concerto, and I'm going to play it once without vibrato and once with some vibrato, and you can hear the difference. So this is Hindemith, by the way, Der Schwandreher, which is a great big German word for swan turner. So this is without vibrato. I'll try not to vibrate at all. I'm mostly going to vibrate. So that's not that exciting. And here it is with vibrato and probably also better use of the bow as well. Not a great place to stop, but I'll just leave it there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I recommend you work with someone one-on-one to develop your vibrato, but it's a really exciting step as a string player, and I wish you the best of luck. All right, bye.